Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy, and we are here with the amazing Sophie Lark. So, hey, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, ladies.
Yeah, we're excited. Mandy has our questions.
Yes, I do. And I'm going to be able to read them. I met you, not this Vegas, but the last Vegas, and I couldn't even talk to you. I was just like starstruck. And then I left and I'm like, I didn't even tell her I liked her books or anything. It was so awkward.
It was funny because when we were in line, we were VIP, so we were in there early. There wasn't a lot of people, but we're like, oh, we need to get by Sophie and a few other ones before the madness starts. So we were in line. I was in front of Mandy. I, came up, met you, did the picture, did the whole thing. And then I was putting my books in my cart and I wasn't paying attention. And I took Mandy's picture, then we walked away and Mandy's like, why didn't you say this? She's like, nothing. It was nothing. You didn't help at all. I was like, oops, I didn't even see.
I feel like everyone's always so self-conscious at signings, but it's a bunch of introverts and a bunch of introverts. The authors are nervous, the readers are nervous, and we're every single person when it's over is like, I hope I did okay.
I know. Our first signing was Love and Books, and it was the Love in Seattle event. And when they did their dinner, it was kind of different, or their VIP meet and greet, it was kind of different than what they did in Vegas last year. It was, the lights were all on. First of all, you were in a room, there was like little hors d'oeuvres and that was about it. And you were all at these standing tables and you were expected to go just talk to people. And I'm like, nobody. It took forever for people to actually start mingling because put a whole bunch of introverts into a room and you're like, now go make friends.
Oh, I actually am always impressed how many people do end up making lifelong book friends at these events, because it really is. I remember how terrified I was the first time Ryan and I went to a signing. It was a Polycon, and I was so scared. Like, what am I going to say to people? And it just, I think everybody feels that way, but then somehow you get in the room and there's all this energy with all these people that love the same thing that you do, and it just ends up working.
Yeah.
But it does take time, as you're saying. It's not right away.
No. Everybody's got to like warm up and start peopling, and then you can do it. So, yeah.
So I can read the questions though this time.
You're not like too starstruck now.
Yes. All right. So for people who might not know, what types of books do you write? Any particular tropes?
So I have a pretty big variety of things that I like to write. I read pretty much everything, and I like to write a lot of different things too. I'm probably the most known for dark romance. I have some mafia books and Sinner's Duet, which is serial killer romance. But I have Anastasia, which is fantasy, and the Grimstone series, which is kind of thriller romance. So I really just kind of have hit a lot of different buttons because I have a lot of different passions.
Yeah, I have to tell you too, I brought home your special edition, your Brutal Prince, this one.
Oh yes,
my 14-year-old is like, strawberries are her new thing. And I'm like, stop, put the book away, it is not for you, it's special. It goes up on the bookshelf. And she's like, it's got strawberries, I should be able to read it, right? I'm like, no.
Do not crack that spine.
Yeah, do not crack that spine. We will have a problem. It is meant to look at, not to open. So
my little 6-year-old even loves strawberries now, and of course she's nonverbal, so she doesn't even know what any of it's from. But I have so many cute little strawberry things; it's even burrowed into her head. Yes. So yeah, we have an absurd amount of strawberry stuff around the house.
Yeah. I think it was last year in Vegas when I spun the wheel. When I came out to meet you, I got strawberry earrings, I think is what it was. Yes. And they immediately went to her because that's her thing. She loves the strawberry. I think I actually put it in her Christmas stocking. I was like, that looks like mom actually went and bought her something, so we'll just stick it down there.
I love those. I still have those little enamel ones. They're cute.
Yeah, they're so cute. Yes. Yeah. So that's always fun. She loves strawberries.
So do you have a favorite book you've written or a favorite character?
So people always ask that, and it really is like my kids in the sense that every single book, I put something personal into it, something that I loved, something that I was really exploring at the time that I wrote it. But I definitely probably, if I was going to be in one of my books, I would probably choose one of the darker ones, which probably sounds weird because why would you? But just
not to me.
That's just kind of what draws me is those kind of dark and moody and dramatic settings. So I would probably choose Stolen Air is a big favorite of mine. I love Beauty and the Beast. That was the first movie I ever went and saw in theaters, and I think it imprinted on me like a little duckling. So maybe that's the one I'd pick to live in.
Yeah. I always choose dark romance. Always. My poor husband, I'm like, how come you're not chasing me in the woods? He's like, because we'd actually have to drive to the woods. Why would I? He's like, you give up pretty quickly. So why? Like, it's about making an effort. So.
Well, and isn't that really at the core of it? It's the dark romance hero. It's the extremes that he'll go to
Yes.
for his love interest, and that is what is just strangely appealing. They have no line. There's nothing they won't do. And that is the inside of the dark romance world. That is the measure of their commitment and passion.
Yeah. And my husband's used to getting the very weird questions. I mean, even last night I was reading and I put the book down. He was listening to or watching a movie on his tablet, so he had to take his headphones off. So he had to pause the movie and give me the look. And I was like, is my skin as soft as silk? Because you never tell me that. I need to know that. And he's like, what the heck? He's like, yes, so soft. Can I go back to my movie now? So, yeah, poor guy.
Oh, you should have asked him, if I accidentally lit your curtains on fire,
would you be okay
Would you
with
still
that?
love me?
oh my gosh, that was so funny when that happened. Like, I still crack up thinking about that whole scene and like how it just played out as I envisioned it as I was reading it.
Probably because you're klutzy.
Well, that's the thing. In hindsight with Ada, like looking back on it a couple years later, she really is just she's the ultimate in impulsivity, and she always manages to make the situation worse before she figures out how to make it better.
Yeah. It's kind of like the time I walked you into the tree, Mandy. You forgave me.
Thanks.
We still have a relationship afterwards. Okay. Mandy used to have to wear glasses and contacts, and she couldn't see anything. And so when we were, was it our senior year? It was after our senior year. It was this summer. It was in the summer. We were at camp one year, and I walked her to the bathroom every morning, like at 6 a.m. to put in contacts to see things because she forgot her glasses at home. By Friday, I was tired. I was done walking her. So I accidentally walked her into a tree.
Yeah.
What's your prescription, Mandy? How bad is it?
Oh, mine were so bad. I actually ended up getting LASIK. But like I had, like the Coke bottle glasses.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had to get special order contacts. So instead of like everybody who could just wear dailies, like mine cost it was like $300 a contact, and I had to get them every like 4 to 6 months. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
I feel this pain. I'm minus 10 and a half, and it's you don't get any of the usual stuff, and you're literally blind without glasses, just a big old blur of color.
Yes, like if my glasses would fall off the nightstand, I couldn't find them. I'd be like on my hands and knees, or my husband would have to look for them.
Yeah.
That's my nightmare, is that we're in some post-apocalyptic world and I don't have glasses or contacts.
I actually thought about that. We watched The Walking Dead, and I'm like, wait, if like it's weird where my mind would go, but if something like this ever happened, I would be screwed if my glasses got broke. Kind of pushed me to get LASIK because I was scared, but I'm like, I'm not having to worry about that anymore. It's very nice.
Oh, I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. And now the tables have turned where for me, it's distance is hard. Like it's not too bad. I mean, my prescription is pretty light, but still things are kind of blurry. Like when we're at events, I have to wear my glasses so I can see who everybody is across the room. But Mandy's over here like, haha. So tables have turned now. Let me walk you into a tree. But I'm like, no, up front, I'm good. Up close, I'm good. It's that distance. But still, yeah.
Who's got the elfish eyes now?
Exactly. So paybacks,
We took a wild left turn there, so
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
But that is the fun of these. Like you just never know what you're going to end up talking about.
Yep.
So getting us back on track, where would you recommend someone start with your books that might be new?
So Brutal Prince is a great entry point. I kind of call it Mafia Light. It's kind of mafia mixed with romantic comedy. And it's arranged marriage, enemies to lovers, some of my favorite tropes. And it's just funny. And if you are a dark romance girly, Sinner's Duet is just one contained duet, so you don't have to commit to a whole series. That's a good place to jump into. Or yeah, those are probably the best starting points.
Yeah. So what would you say your darkest book is then?
Probably Sinner's Duet, just because it is the most. I really did use. I'm a big fan of true crime, and I really did try to use psychopath, sociopath, true crime psychology in terms of Cole's mental makeup and how he views things. He feels a limited range of emotions. He definitely has some narcissism at the beginning and is willing to do some really dark things. But I am a big believer that anybody can change no matter how bad of mistakes they've made. I'm a big believer that 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 experiencing love can change you. And so when he starts to admire Mara and begins to feel connection to her, it does change his entire outlook on life. And but yeah, he's pretty bad to start. So that's probably the darkest.
Okay. Yeah. Just for anybody who's curious out there. So yeah.
I love that though. Like that's what makes dark romance so good is you have somebody and like the moment they like usually fixate on their
All in these
person,
situations, right?
you see this change and like everyone else can still go to hell, but this is their person.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that there is truth in I've witnessed it or experienced it in my life where when someone has a child and it really changes them, or when someone does fall in love in a relationship and it really changes them, sometimes you have to. I mean, it's narcissism is love of self over anyone else, and we all have narcissistic tendencies, but it is really truly learning to love someone more than yourself that allows you to elevate to be to be more than a selfish person. And for some people it's their dog. I mean,
Yeah.
it's feeling that feeling where you put something else above yourself, and that's what it means to elevate beyond the animal to what I would consider being a human being. That's love is what differentiates us from just being animals.
Exactly. Yeah. Love that.
Can you share what you're currently working on or any upcoming projects?
Oh yeah, so just on Wednesday we did the cover reveal for Sparrow and Vine. This is my new series that I'm releasing through Bloom. It comes out in April, and it is contemporary romance. It is these two warring families that have been battling for control of this vineyard in Rhode Island for generations. They have this very messy, contentious history with each other. And the book begins with there's three sisters, the Sparrow sisters, and three brothers, the Beaumont brothers. And the story begins with the youngest sister, Sadie. She decides to marry one of the brothers so that they can secure inheritance of this vineyard, even though their families despise each other and they barely know each other, and everything is blowing up around them. They figure this is the one and only way to lock this place down once and for all.
Okay. All right. I like that.
Oh, so that's like sort of like an arranged marriage, but like marriage of necessity.
Yeah, marriage of convenience. Yeah,
Marriage of
exactly.
convenience. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And I I love that trope. I love it how it comes along with forced proximity in this case.
Mhm.
And just I love family sagas. I love family
Mhm.
relationships, be it found family or your family of origin. I love exploring those types of bonds and how they interact when you fall in love with somebody and now you have these competing loyalties. That was a big focus in my Kingmakers series too, and Brutal Birthright actually.
Okay. So will audio come out at the same time or will audio come later?
Yeah, so the nice thing with I'm getting all synced up with Bloom on all of my releases. And Monarch in October was the first time that we were synced up together. And moving forward, all of my releases will be in tandem with Bloom. So everything's going to have worldwide release and simultaneous audiobook and all of those things. So we had a lot of growing pains in the indie phase, but we're finally on smooth sailing.
Nice. I love that. That's good. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool when the audio comes out at the same time.
Yeah, it's way better. It's just when you're indie, audiobook production takes about 3 or 4 months, and lots of times with indie authors, you're hitting publish 3 days after you finished editing the book. So
Yes. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
You just need a bigger runway.
Yeah.
So did Bloom just get the rights to the new series, or are they taking over all of your books now?
So they have pretty much purchased all of them at this point. My Love Contract series is also purchased by Bloom, so that's been a little bit delayed. That's not going to come out until 2026 now. And let me think if there's the only thing that they have not picked up is the Underworld series. So most of Underworld is going out of print, but I'm going to re-release Ivan Snow and Dom, but the rest of the series is just going to be, I'll still have it available for free on my website starting next month. So you can read it for free on it as an ebook, but the paperbacks are falling off because those are my lowest selling series. So
okay, makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think I've read all 3 of those though, so I have to go back and look. But I'm pretty sure I know I've read Ivan for sure. So
yeah. Ivan's my fave from that series.
For sure.
So he's getting a little facelift. He's getting a new cover.
Ooh, I love that. Perfect.
So, how did you become a romance writer?
Oh, so I've always written since I was a little kid. I grew up super poor, and the one thing we did have was this really old computer that just had 2 colors, black and yellow, and the one thing it could do is Word docs and Tetris. Actually, it could do 2 things. Word docs and Tetris. So I got started writing my versions of fairy tales and just little short stories. And as I got older, I went into a writing program in college, but I did not get accepted to the master's creative writing program. And I had some short stories published in magazines, but I had a novel that got rejected by a publisher, and I didn't get into the writing program at school. So for a while, I was a little bit discouraged, and there's just a lot of gatekeeping in that world. And then when about in 2018, I was on Reddit and I saw Penelope Bloom is a romance author, and they had made a post on Reddit talking about how you could just self-publish. And I had never heard of that. I didn't know that was a thing. And I read through. They had multiple posts that they did where they kind of talked about the process, and I thought that's really cool. I should give that a try. So I started publishing just some short stories on Amazon, erotica shorts, and then once I kind of started building some momentum and getting some readership, I went and published my first romance novel. But it was really funny because the first story that I put out there, thank God that the first review I got was 5 stars because because it's so easy to get discouraged. But this person just gave me this lovely, sweet, kind review, and Ryan and I read it, and we both started crying. And it was the first time a stranger had ever read my work online and commented on it, and it all just snowballed from there. As I started publishing romance novels, I started building my ARC team, this little group of people, and the immediate feedback that you get through self-publishing is just incredible. It's to have people right away tell you what they like and don't like about your stories, and to kind of get to know your reader on a much more intimate level. It was so useful for really honing my craft and figuring out what direction I wanted to go in inside of romance. And it was just such a blessing to be publishing and writing at a time where there is no gatekeepers. It's 100% meritocracy. If people like your stuff, they'll buy it. If they don't, they won't. And there's no one to stand in your way except yourself. So
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it just grew from there.
Yes. When you talk about the little computer that you had, it brings me back because like when Mandy and I were in school, that was when computers were starting to become a thing, but nobody like we never had one at home. My dad was a logger. Like we grew up with nothing. And so now I remember when I was in college, my parents got a word processor. And it was one of those things where you had like this little screen. And that's where they had to type up all of my reports and stuff for junior college. And it wasn't until like a year or two later, my dad started his logging business and we were able to afford a computer. And that was like a big deal at that time. And then I took off and moved to Alaska after that. But still, like that was a word processor, and everybody else had computers, but I had this little screen to write my stuff on. So
yeah, that was the early machines were so simple, but they were like a miracle to us.
They were. And now we can't live without them. So yeah.
That's a very inspirational story, though, that you were discouraged and then you took a chance again. And look at what, like, that's just really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I would say to anybody who wants to write. There's this idea that the writers you admire are special geniuses or something. It's just not true. They're just people who have practiced a lot. And I read this book by Robert Greene called Mastery, and it talks about how everything is practice, even things that you think are some kind of natural gift or talent, like having an eye for art or whatever. It's all just hours of practice. And if you want to write, just practice every single day. Even if you can only write 100 or 200 words, if that's all you have time for, do it. And don't be afraid of feedback. Everybody's first draft is crap, and everybody has an opinion. So
it's true.
Just get your work done, put it out there, go on Wattpad, go wherever you can get readers and read what they say, and just take it as an opinion, and mostly just amalgamate data. What one person says is just what they think, but when 5 or 6 or 20 people are telling you the same thing, then you can see a pattern and you can say, okay, maybe my main character is a little annoying if everyone says that. Or whatever the thing is.
Or whatever the thing is. I know, and I think that's the great thing about having these little teams of people who are outside your family and friends who you can trust their opinion. Because, if I'm going to give a book over to a friend, they're probably going to be less likely to be like, yeah, your character was annoying. But if you have that little ARC team out there, they're more likely to be like, yeah, that wasn't working, or the beta, or whatever you want to call them. They're your first line of defense. So
yeah, and it's everybody needs that feedback, because you can never really be certain how your work is being received by other people, what they're understanding or what they're not, how the flow of the story was coming across to them. It's writers, we can be very sensitive little babies because our work is very personal and we're putting out our most intimate thoughts and feelings, but at the same time we have to recognize that we are creating something for other people. So we need to have enough bravery to hear their feedback and to understand that everything can be fixed in the second and third draft.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, the people that you choose to have, because I'm working with an author right now who's she asked me if I would alpha read a book for her, and I had to come to her and be like, look, I've beta read, I've done ARC reading, but this is just my opinion. So if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. And I don't want to ever hurt your feelings, but this is how I'm feeling about this. And that's what she's looking for. You don't have to have mean people to be like, no, that's not going to work. There's a way to do it. So you have to be able to trust that group of people too. So,
and then sometimes you just go with your heart and you do something that someone might have talked down about, and that's okay too. And that's the beautiful thing about writing too, is that it's a siren call to people who like the same thing. So if you like something super dark and graphic and crazy, and that's what you write, then that's who you're going to find. You're going to find the readership that loves that. If you love cozy, sweet things that are heartwarming and that's what you write, then you'll find an adorable readership of people who love that. That's one of the most fun things of all is finding your audience and seeing that group of people. That's why Sinners Duet is very special to me, because it's one of the first times I wrote even an extra layer of personal stuff into the book, and it's one of the first times that I was scared by what I had put out there, because I was writing some really personal stuff, and I definitely had fear of rejection, of being considered weird, or just just fucked up. I think anyone that writes dark romance is worried that we're going to expose ourselves as fucked up.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But that was one of the books where I connected with people the most, where I could not believe how many women have sensory issues. That made me feel so much less weird to hear
Yeah.
people say, "Oh my gosh, I thought it was just me," and it's like, nope. Turns out we all have sensory
issues. Yes, it's way more prominent than you think. Yep, exactly. Which is great, because then you find that you find people that you wouldn't normally see on the street that can relate, which is great.
Yeah. It made me realize how alike we really can be under the surface with things that we don't necessarily always feel comfortable talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, love that.
So how do you come up with some of your ideas?
Oh, the inspiration is just it's just anything that strikes me as interesting, which is almost anything. Sometimes it's a line in a song, sometimes it's a philosophical question, sometimes it's a scene in a book that I read that I wished they had written differently, and then it sparks an idea for something else that I would rather do. It's like one of the funniest ones to me is in Brutal Prince, that whole book. It's like the inciting idea is like the center of the spiral, and then everything just kind of builds out from there. So with Brutal Prince, it was the strawberry kiss. I was watching Batman with my boys, and there was this scene with Poison Ivy and Batman where she kisses him and poisons him, and I was like, oh, that's kind of hot. And then I started thinking about it, and just the whole scene built itself around that idea in my head, and then the characters came to my mind, and the whole thing just came outward from there.
I know that Batman is not always praised. That one is actually knocked around quite a bit, but that one had Robin. Who was that played Robin in there? He was hot. I can't remember his name.
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. Yes. Mandy, he was also in Circle of Friends when you were trying to remember the Minnie Driver movie last week. That's the main character.
Hey, but his best movie to me is The Three Musketeers. Did you guys see that? That movie is so good.
I was obsessed with him, like obsessed with him when I was in my teens. So,
Yeah. Well, he had that pretty boy look that was very much a thing in the 90s, that blue-eyed Jared Leto thing. We loved that.
Yeah. And then we grew up and chose dark romance, so they all have to be brunettes. So
yeah, now they're all dark-haired.
They're all dark hair. That's okay. Chris O'Donnell was a major crush of mine when I was younger. So
yeah,
everybody knocks those movies, and I'm like, oh no, it was great cinematic work. It had Chris O'Donnell in it. Hello. So
well, that one's so funny too. It's like Charlie Sheen is a sex symbol. Like it's a wayback machine.
It really is. It is.
and it has Tim Curry in one of his classic villain roles. He has such a good aura for being creepy yet weirdly attractive.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I should have known something was up when I watched Kevin Costner's Robin Hood back at when I was just hitting puberty, I think is when that probably would have came out. And I had a thing for the sheriff who was horrible.
Well, what's his name? That plays Snape.
He was Snape.
What's his name? Alan Rickman.
Yes.
He is so talented. I love him.
Yeah. So, I don't blame it, because then I saw him in Harry Potter and I was like, oh, that's the guy. So
Yeah. And I love every single person they cast for that. My only quibble is that all of those teachers are supposed to be in their 30s, not in their 60s. Yeah, and they're amazing casting. I can't complain, but it does change the tragedy of Snape and everything that happens, because when you realize that they're actually so young, it just gives a different vibe to the whole freedom fighter thing.
It does, for sure. Yeah, I wish they would have. I mean, the cast was great, but I do wish they would have hit on that a little bit more. So, yeah. So.
Okay, well, we know you have kids, so this is going to be a really difficult question we're going to ask you. But what do you like to do in your free time?
What's free time?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know either.
Well, Oh, so the number one tragedy of becoming a writer is that you have less time to read. So that was the
Mm.
first thing that got hit that makes me really sad. So if I do have any free time, I do try and spend it reading. Um, and what else do Ryan and I do? I mean, I mostly just try and work in pretty places, so it feels like I'm having free time when I'm not.
Yes.
So I like to work outdoors a lot.
Mm.
And you're in a warmer state than where we are, right?
Yeah, so we moved to California last year, and we mostly did it for my little one because she is obsessed with being outdoors, and so we mostly made the move for her, but it's benefited all of us because we're all spending more time outside now.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not.
Oh, yeah. We're
We're like,
in
what's
Western
vitamin D?
Washington.
You guys are getting
So,
rained on when you try and step outside.
It is raining.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it is what
Yeah.
it is. Every time I see my doctor for my checkups, he's like, so vitamin D. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, fine. So
At
Yeah.
least rain is soothing, though. It is the
it
most
is.
peaceful sound.
It is. It was funny though. Last year, my daughter we had to take her to Stanford we had to keep flying back and forth between here and Stanford to see some doctors down there, and we would stay with my sister-in-law who's in that area, and we went down at Christmas time, and I was like, you have like oranges and lemons on your trees. Like I know that's a thing, but it's Christmas. Like they're supposed to be hibernating right now. Like there shouldn't be any fruit on the trees. And they're like, no, this is when it happens. It's like, wow, that's crazy to me.
We have definitely not adjusted. We were at this outdoor cafe earlier today, and all of us were wearing t-shirts and tank tops, and everyone was in a parka, a literal
Yes.
parka.
Yes. Yeah, I know, because we went and did some outdoor things, and it was right before Christmas, and everybody was bundled up, and I was walking around in just like a lightweight shirt, t-shirt and jeans, going, why are they all so why? It's
Yeah.
warm still. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we
really
went
funny.
to visit the Grand Canyon and it started to rain, but it wasn't very heavy. And all these people start running back to their cars and they're in um like those ponchos that you can buy places and they're like sprinting and we're like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? And it's like, oh, it's because it's raining a little bit, so they're all running back to their cars, and we're like, this is nothing. We're in
Yeah.
flip flops and shorts.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the secret best way to see monuments. I went to Niagara Falls when it was raining, and I was the only person there, and I was like, "This is perfect." I'm all
Exactly.
Yeah.
home.
Or like when we were at the football game earlier or last month when we came home from Vegas, we flew out at 6 a.m. to be home in time to do Seahawks with Seahawks versus Buffalo Bills. And so we went to the game and it would lightly rain, it would sprinkle, it would lightly rain and then it would go away and then back and forth. But by the end of the game, it was raining pretty hard and we just sat out there with our jackets on. Everybody else was leaving, but we were good. So
You were showing your loyalty. You could not be scared off that easy.
Yeah.
Well, people weren't leaving because it was raining.
Oh no, that's what we were gonna go with. It wasn't because they were losing. It was because it was raining.
Seahawks fans are used to the rain.
Yes, we were.
The
Yeah.
game was not going so well, so
No.
people leave early
Well,
to beat traffic.
for you, my husband is a Buffalo Bills fan because he's from Buffalo. So
Yeah, but people will
Oh,
still leave games early, like if their team's winning by a lot too, which I don't get. Like if you pay the money to go, stay the whole time. Like that's just me.
yeah. NFL games are not cheap enough for me to leave early. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get my money's worth.
no, exactly. I'm
exactly.
getting my money's worth in that seat, right? You're not moving my butt for nothing. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, our next question is, who are some of your favorite authors or favorite books?
Oh, so my favorite romance author right now is Emily Henry. She is just so freaking talented. I'm in awe of her every time I read something of hers. Um, she really does, she manages to make things feel so real and so deep and emotional. I don't know if I've ever cried more times than reading Happy Place. I had to literally set the book aside and come back to it because she kept getting
It's
me.
funny.
And then some of my other favorites, for fantasy, I really love Catherine Arden. The Bear and the Nightingale series is one of my favorites. And who else do I really love right now? I like Frida McFadden for thriller. So I burned through all of her books in about a 2-week period. I was just like popcorn. As soon as I would finish one, I would immediately start the next one.
I love when you find a series that you like that, where you just can't put it down and it consumes you. And that's just, when you're done, you're like, now what do I do with my life?
Oh yeah. Well, and anyone who has good, strong female characters and good, strong, witty banter, witty commentary, I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah.
And she's so good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
My eyes started twitching. Sorry, I wasn't like rapidly winking at anybody.
Like, what are you doing over there? You got quiet all of a sudden.
All right. Our next question is will we see you at any author signings?
Yeah, so I'm going to the one in Phoenix on Valentine's Day, Chicago in May, Vegas again at Halloween, and Vancouver as well in July. So, and that'll be my first time at BB40, so that'll be super fun.
Mm-hmm. So
we're gonna see you a lot next year.
Yeah, are you babes? Which ones are you guys coming to?
So we're gonna be in Phoenix, the Wild and Windy in Phoenix, and BB4E and Love in Vegas again too.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah.
Well, you guys will get sick of me.
No. So BB4E, when it came out, Mandy and I were like, we have to go, because I'm on the border of Canada and Washington. Like, Vancouver's just, I can see it. So like, that was like, we have to get tickets to that. We have to. It's so close. I mean, you know, so we managed to do that. So we're excited.
I'm super excited for that one because I actually am Canadian and I have not been back to Canada since I started on any book event. So I'm super excited for that. And I actually am going to be fangirling at that one too, because Jay Kristoff is coming to that, and he is my favorite vampire writer. So I'm pretty much going just to see him across the room and be interested. And I will see him because he's really tall.
There you are. Oh, I know there's going to be a lot of great authors. There's going to be a lot of authors there, period. But there's going to be a lot of great authors there. So I'm glad it's a 2-day event, because otherwise it would be very difficult to see your favorites. So
yeah. Well, and he has a super cute wife too. And I always, do you know when there's like a couple where you love their coupledom? So I would consider them in that category too, where they're a fave couple for me. They're just super cute on their.
That's cute. So are you from British Columbia originally?
Yeah, so I grew up on Vancouver Island, and then later I've lived in Vancouver and in Toronto and Calgary as well. So kind of all the way across the country.
Okay, so then you probably know where I live, because I live in Blaine. So I'm.
Oh yeah.
I am the border crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am the border crossing. Like, everybody I know works for Border Patrol. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta keep those Canadians out. They're always trying to sneak over.
They do. They sneak over for Costco, and that's okay. That's all right. They can come to Costco. We had to build a new one for them, a bigger one. But yeah,
That's
pretty
true.
much.
Jessica just doesn't like it when they clog up the post office.
No.
Yeah, it's true. We as a Canadian that did used to cross the border to buy things that are way more fun down here, I get it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I have no problem with it. Just the post office is a problem. I don't like to go there. So it's always nuts. But yeah, I'll live. I'll survive. I actually drive 20 minutes down the road to the next post office when I have to go. So, because nobody knows about the little Custer post office. And so I drive out to Custer and do that.
Well, that's probably because it's always so hard to get things shipped up to Canada. So I would assume that's what they're mostly coming down for. I think
or to ship, like, at Christmas time, it's typically to ship Christmas gifts to people who live in the States and stuff. So you normally see that. But now there was a new law that went into effect last spring that if you're going to ship out of the US, you have to have a return address within the US, because there was a lot of people that would come down from Canada and have the return address to Canada. And so when things got returned, it would just sit there, because now you've got fees to pay for it to go through customs and stuff. And so they changed that up this spring. So I think it's changed things a little bit. Well, but we have a lot of post office places here that's what people use. They just, for their bigger packages and stuff. So they just use that.
Well, it's if the post office wasn't stuck in 1882, I sent my
So
brother
true.
something for Christmas last year. I shipped it in November and it arrived in February broken. And I was like, guys, I
Yes,
could have walked it up there faster.
exactly. If they would just get out of the dark ages, it would be helpful. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyhow.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness. All right. Well, now that we've covered a lot in this interview, like a lot.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you would like to share that we didn't talk about?
Oh, I don't think so. Just thank you ladies for having me on, and it's so nice to see you and speak to you again.
Without Mandy just staring.
Hey, I did much better this last time in Vegas. I talked to you.
You did. I was very proud of you.
I talked to her, yes.
You guys were very smooth, and if you were ever awkward before, I'm sure I was equally awkward, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
So what is the best way for readers to connect with you?
Well, I have a Facebook group, Love Larks, and I am on TikTok and Instagram, so any of those are great. And the new and improved Sophie Lark website is going up, and we have the story vault with all my former Patreon stories on there and my extras and freebies. So any of those places are a great place to get Sophie content.
Awesome.
All right.
Perfect.
I don't think I'm in your Facebook group. That's Love Larks.
Yeah, Love Larks on
Okay.
Facebook, and for anyone who's trying to get on my ARC team, that's where I draw from for my ARC team as well. With each new release, I take on about 5 or 10 new ARC team members. So, and it's also just a great community of absolute sweethearts. So, it's a good place to hang out.
Yeah, we love that. I love when authors have their own little groups like that. It's a great place to meet people who love the same thing you do when it comes to books. So.
Yeah, and you can talk about anything on Love Larks. You don't just have to talk about Sophie books. You can just talk about romance in general. So
yeah, perfect. It's perfect. Yay! All right, was that the last one, Mandy? I always forget.
That was the last question. Yes,
that's the last one. All right. Well, thank you, Sophie, for being here. We've really enjoyed you. Enjoyed talking to you. I guess that sounded a little weird, but okay. Yes, we've enjoyed talking to you. And thanks to everybody out there who watched. We'll see you in the next video.
See you guys.
Bye.